There was a time not so long ago when entire villages survived on a single crop most people today barely think about. Not wheat, not maize, not rice. A rugged, fast-growing plant that thrived in poor soil, resisted pests, and delivered both calories and nutrition when everything else failed. During the chaos of World War II, when supply chains collapsed and fields were scorched, this crop quietly kept families alive across Europe and parts of Asia. Yet today it's been pushed aside, dismissed as outdated, even though it may be more relevant now than ever. What makes this story worth your attention isn't nostalgia, it's practicality. Because the same qualities that made this crop a wartime lifeline, resilience, speed and versatility, are exactly what modern food systems are beginning to struggle with. Rising input costs, unpredictable weather and soil degradation are forcing farmers and survival-minded individuals to rethink what they grow. And buried in the past is a solution that already proved itself under the harshest conditions imaginable. The crop in question is the humble turnip, along with its close relative, the swede. During World War II, especially in regions like Britain and Germany, turnips became a cornerstone of survival agriculture. They were easy to grow, required minimal fertilizer, and could be harvested quickly. Unlike grains, which needed processing and storage infrastructure, turnips could go straight from the soil to the pot. They fed both humans and livestock, making them doubly valuable in a time when resources were stretched thin. Turnips earned their place not through hype, but through performance. They grow in as little as 6 to 8 weeks, which meant multiple harvests could be achieved in a single season. In wartime conditions, that kind of turnaround was critical. If one crop failed, another could be planted almost immediately. Their tolerance for poor soils meant even marginal land. Areas that wouldn't support wheat or barley could still produce food. They also store well in the ground. Farmers could leave them unharvested and pull them as needed, effectively turning the field into a living pantry. This reduced the risk of spoilage and eliminated the need for complex storage systems that were often unavailable during the war. Nutritionally, turnips provided vitamin C, fiber, and essential minerals. In a time when scurvy and malnutrition were real threats, this mattered. They weren't glamorous, but they were reliable. After the war, agriculture shifted toward industrial efficiency. Crops were selected based on yield per acre, transportability, and market demand rather than resilience. Wheat, corn, and soy became dominant because they fit neatly into mechanized systems and global trade networks. Turnips, by comparison, didn't scale as cleanly. They were seen as peasant food, tied to hardship and rationing, and gradually fell out of favor. There's also the issue of shelf appeal. Supermarkets prefer uniform, long-lasting produce that can survive transport and storage. Turnips, while hardy in the ground, don't always meet those visual standards once harvested. Over time, consumer demand followed what was available, and the knowledge of how to grow and use these crops began to fade. The conditions that made turnips valuable in World War II are returning in a different form. Climate instability is making weather patterns less predictable. Soil health is declining in many regions due to overuse of chemical inputs. And small-scale farmers are once again looking for crops that don't require heavy investment. Turnips offer a low-risk, high-reward option. They can be planted early in the season and again in late summer for a second harvest. They suppress weeds due to their fast growth, reducing the need for herbicides. Their leaves are edible as well, providing an additional food source that many modern crops don't offer. For anyone interested in food security, whether on a farm, a small plot, or even a backyard, this is a crop worth reconsidering. Start by integrating turnips into a rotation rather than replacing your main crops entirely. Plant them in areas where soil quality is poor or where other crops have struggled. This mirrors how wartime farmers used every available piece of land efficiently. Use staggered planting. Sow small batches every 2 weeks instead of all at once. This ensures a continuous supply rather than a single overwhelming harvest. During World War II, this approach helped families maintain a steady food source rather than facing periods of scarcity. Take advantage of their dual-purpose nature. Harvest some early for tender greens and allow others to mature into full roots. This gives both short-term and longer-term food options from the same planting. Consider storage techniques that don't rely on modern infrastructure. Leaving turnips in the ground and covering them with straw or soil insulation can extend their usability into colder months. This was a common wartime practice and remains effective today. Finally, incorporate them into everyday meals in ways that make them appealing. Roasting, mashing, or adding them to stews can transform what many consider a bland vegetable into something genuinely satisfying. The key is not just growing the crop, but actually using it. What World War II farmers understood, often out of necessity, is that resilience beats perfection. A crop doesn't need to be the highest yielding or the most profitable on paper if it consistently produces under tough conditions. That mindset is starting to return, especially among those who prioritize independence and sustainability over maximum output. Turnips are just one example, but they represent a broader lesson. The solutions to modern agricultural challenges aren't always new technologies. Sometimes they're older methods and crops that have been overlooked because they didn't fit the direction farming took in the last few decades. If you're serious about understanding how people survived when systems failed, this is the kind of knowledge that matters. It's practical, proven, and adaptable. If this kind of deep dive into forgotten survival strategies speaks to you, subscribe to the channel and share this with someone who values real, usable history. There's a lot more buried beneath the surface, and it's worth bringing back.